Focused narrative, strong character introductions, and escalating tension. The prose avoids fluff, advances the central conflict, and ends on a cliffhanger that demands further reading. They sent 9,900 ships to conquer Earth. Only a few lived to tell the tale ****. The first warning came as static, a jagged screech tearing through radio telescopes from Oslo to Tokyo. Dr. Elias Voss dropped his coffee, the mug shattering as the signal resolved into a pattern too precise for pulsars or solar flares. Numbers, coordinates, repeating. His hands trembled as he cross-referenced them with the deep space array. "That's not a broadcast," he whispered. "It's a trajectory." Across the globe, military satellites pivoted toward the anomaly. Admiral Naomi Carter stood in the Pentagon's war room. Her reflection fractured across a dozen screens. "How many contacts?" she demanded. The technician's voice cracked. 9,900, and they're decelerating." The room went silent. Nothing human could maneuver like that. In a bunker beneath Geneva, UN Secretary-General Dmitry Petrov gripped the podium, his usually polished cadence fraying. "They've given us 72 hours to surrender," he told the Emergency Council. "No demands, no negotiations, just submission." A Brazilian delegate laughed hysterically until Petrov displayed the footage. Obsidian ships, each larger than Manhattan, blotting out the stars. Elias sprinted through MIT's abandoned astrophysics lab, his grad student Priya Malik hacking into defense feeds. "They're not slowing down," she said. "They're accelerating." The countdown was a lie. The invasion had already begun. Naomi's fighter jet scrambled over the Atlantic as the sky split open. The first ship descended like a guillotine, its shadow swallowing Boston whole. Then light. A beam lands downward, and the Charles River erupted into steam. Buildings vaporized in concentric rings, leaving only glassy craters where streets had been. Her headset exploded with panicked voices. ** Shanghai gone. ** Moscow hit. ** they're targeting capitals. ** Elias watched Cambridge dissolve on Priya's monitor. "They're hurting us," he realized. "Destroying escape routes." She yanked him toward the door. "Then we move now." Dimitri's transmission reached Naomi's cockpit as she banked through debris. "All nations," he said, voice raw. "This is no longer a war. It's an extermination." The line cut abruptly. On the horizon, a second wave of ships ignited their thrusters. The last thing Elias saw before the power failed was Priya's face, lit by emergency flares, mouthing two words, "find others." Then the ceiling collapsed. When he woke, the world was quiet. Ash drifted like snow over the ruins. Somewhere a child wailed. Elias crawled free, his ribs screaming, and stared at the sky. The armada hung motionless, their weapons dark. Waiting, a hand grabbed his ankle. Priya, blood streaking her temple, gasped. "They're not done." Above them, a single ship detached from the swarm, smaller, faster, and arrowed toward the ground. Toward them. Hashtag key elements achieved *. Character introductions *, Elias, scientist, Naomi, soldier, Dmitri, politician, and Priya, tech-savvy survivor, are established with distinct voices and immediate stakes. Central conflict *, the alien's deception, false countdown, and overwhelming force raised tension. Pacing * rapid escalation from discovery to devastation, with no filler. Cliffhanger * the detached ship, suggests a new threat, pushing readers into Section 2. Let me know if you like any adjustments. I can refine dialogue, action beats, or atmospheric details. The ship descended with a sound like tearing metal, its hull rippling as if alive. Elias dragged Priya behind a shattered concrete slab, his pulse hammering. "It's scanning," she whispered, her breath hot against his ear. The vessel's underbelly split open, releasing a swarm of drones, sleek, insectal things that skittered over rubble, pausing at corpses, prodding them with needle-like appendages. One stopped inches from their hiding spot, its lens rotating with mechanical whir. Elias held his breath. *, don't move. Don't even blink. *. A gunshot cracked. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks. Naomi Carter emerged from the smoke, her sidearm smoking, her flight suit streaked with soot. "Run now," she snarled. They sprinted as the remaining drones shrieked in unison, their lights flashing crimson. Behind them, the ship's engines roared to life. They dove into a drainage tunnel just as the blast hit, the shockwave hurling them into darkness. Elias coughed, tasting blood. Naomi flicked on a tactical light, revealing Priya's leg, jagged bone piercing her calf. "They're harvesting DNA." Priya hissed through gritted teeth as Naomi tore her sleeve into a tourniquet. "Those drones, they're cataloging our biology, like specimens." Naomi's jaw tightened. "I saw what they did to DC." Her voice was hollow. "They're not just killing us. They're studying how we die." Elias wiped grime from his glasses. "Then we're lab rats in a maze." His mind raced. The aliens had ignored remote islands, untouched forests. Only cities and military bases were glassed. "They're culling the herd, keeping enough alive to—" He trailed off as a realization hit. They want the planet intact. They're not conquerors. They're farmers. A scraping noise echoed down the tunnel. Something heavy, dragging itself toward them. Naomi raised her gun. A figure lurched into the light. Human, but wrong. His skin was mottled with black veins, his eyes milky. He gasped, clutching a bleeding abdomen. "They're changing us," he gurgled. "The air, it's in the air." He convulsed, then went still. Priya recoiled. "Nanotech, or spores. They're terraforming us." Naomi kicked open a rusted service door. "We need high ground." Outside, the sky was a battlefield. Alien ships dueling with surviving fighter jets, their tracers streaking like dying fireflies. She pointed to a half-collapsed radio tower. "There, if we can boost the signal, maybe there are others." A shadow loomed. The scout ship hovered above them, its ramp lowering. Not drones this time. Figures, tall, armored in obsidian carapaces, their limbs jointed like mantises. One raised a device. A pulse of blue light hit Naomi. She screamed, dropping to her knees as her veins glowed under her skin. Elias grabbed a pipe, swinging wildly. The alien dodged with eerie grace, backhanded him into the dirt. Priya lunged with a shard of glass, slashing at his throat. Black fluid sprayed. The creature hissed, clutching the wound, then froze. Its head tilted, as if listening to some silent command. Abruptly, it retreated, its companions following. The ship ascended, leaving them alive. Naomi gasped, the glow in her veins fading. Why did they stop? Priya stared at the black blood on her hands. "They're afraid of this," she whispered. "They can't risk contamination." She met Elias's eyes. "Their biology, it's incompatible with ours." One cut, and their systems go haywire. A grin split Naomi's soot-stained face. "Then we don't need guns." She yanked the dead man's knife from his belt. "We just need to bleed." In the distance, a new sound rose, not engines, not weapons. Voices, survivors, dozens of them, emerging from ruins. The aliens had made a fatal mistake. They'd left their tools behind. ###, key elements achieved **. Plot advancement **, the aliens' true goal, terraforming via biological corruption, is revealed, raising stakes. Character arcs **. Elias shifts from observer to strategist. Naomi embraces brutal pragmatism. Priya proves resourceful under pressure. Tension ** the drones, infected survivor, and near-capture sequence create relentless momentum. Cliffhanger * the discovery of the aliens' weakness, their blood, and survivors' rally sets up Section 3's rebellion. Let me know if you like any adjustments. I can tweak the action's rhythm, dialogue, or sensory details. The survivors came like ghosts from the ruins, hollow-eyed, bloodied, but gripping makeshift weapons with white-knuckled fury. Elias counted 43 in the dim glow of the radio tower's emergency lights. A child no older than 10 clutched a kitchen knife. An elderly woman had strapped broken glass to her walking stick. They were starving, terrified, and angry, exactly what Naomi needed. She climbed onto a shattered console, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "They think we're just rats in their walls," she said, holding up the dead alien's knife. its edge still slick with black ichor. But with a plague they should fear. The crowd stirred. A man with a burned face spat at the ground. What's the plan? Bleed on them until they drown? Priya limped forward, her bandaged leg leaving smears of red. No, we weaponize it. She pulled a syringe from her pack, stolen from a collapsed hospital, and held it up. Their blood is acidic to them. One drop in their systems, and they melt from the inside. A murmur rippled through the survivors. Elias felt a shift in the air, the first flicker of hope since the skies had burned. But hope was fragile. The radio tower's cracked monitor flickered to life, revealing a live feed from what was left of Tokyo. Alien ships hovered over the ruins, their underbellies opening like grotesque flowers. Thick, gelatinous strands unfurled, slithering into the streets, wrapping around corpses and absorbing them. The crowd recoiled. They're not just cleaning up, Elias realized, stomach churning. They're feeding. Naomi's grip tightened on her rifle. Then we move fast. She divided them into teams, scavengers to gather medical supplies, fighters to ambush scout patrols, and runners to spread the word to other survivors. Elias and Priya were assigned the most dangerous task, infiltrating a downed alien ship on the city's edge. We need their tech, Naomi said. Their weapons, their comms, anything that gives us an edge. The journey through the corpse-littered streets was a nightmare. Alien drones hummed overhead, their spotlights cutting through the haze. Twice, they had to press themselves into the skeletons of cars, holding their breath as the machines passed. Priya's hand shook as she adjusted the straps of her backpack. If we die, she whispered, I want it to be loud. The crashed ship was a mangled wreck, half buried in the ruins of a shopping district. Its hull pulsed faintly as if breathing. Inside, the walls were lined with organic-looking nodules that throbbed like heartbeats. Elias's skin crawled. It's alive, he breathed. Priya didn't answer. She was staring at the pilot's chair, or what was left of it. The alien was still strapped in, its carapace split open, its insides a writhing mass of tendrils. Then the tendrils twitched toward them. They ran, snatching anything portable, a handheld device studded with alien glyphs, a vial of glowing fluid, a jagged shard of the ship's hull. Behind them, the wreck shuddered, a guttural groan echoing through its corridors. They barely made it outside before the entire structure collapsed in on itself, black ooze bubbling from wreckage. Back at the tower, the mood was grim. The scavenger teams had returned with pitiful supplies, a handful of bullets, half-empty bottles of alcohol, frayed rope. The runner team hadn't come back at all. But when Priya held up the alien device, its glyphs flickering in response to her touch, Naomi's eyes gleamed. This changes everything. Elias wasn't so sure. The vial of fluid hissed when he tilted it, eating tiny holes in his glove. If we can't control it, this is just another way to die. Naomi took the vial from him. Then we don't control it. She looked at the crowd, at the child still clutching his kitchen knife, at the burned man who had stopped sneering. We unleash it. Outside, the distant hum of engines grew louder. The aliens were coming. And this time, humanity would be ready. Hashtag key elements asterisk. Rising stakes asterisk. The aliens' grotesque feeding behavior adds urgency. Character moments asterisk. Naomi emerges as a ruthless but inspiring leader. Priya grapples with fear, but pushes forward. Elias becomes the voice of caution. Cliffhanger asterisk, the alien tech's potential and danger, sets up Section 4's final battle. Let me know if you like any refinements. The alien device pulsed in Priya's hands like a living thing, its glyphs writhing under her fingertips. Around her, the survivors huddled in the flickering half-light of the radio tower, their faces gaunt but fierce. Naomi paced like a caged animal, the vial of corrosive alien fluid clutched in her fist. We hit them at dawn, she said, while they're still harvesting. Elias adjusted his cracked glasses, his mind racing. We don't even know what this does, he said, gesturing to the device. What if it's a beacon? What if we're just calling more of them down on us? Priya's fingers tightened around the artifact. Then we'll make sure it's the last thing they hear. The night passed in a blur of hushed preparations. The child, Lena, she'd whispered her name, was sharpened her kitchen knife against concrete until the edge gleamed. The burned man, whose name Elias had learned was Rook, melted scavenged metal into crude arrowheads, dipping each one in the alien fluid. Naomi distributed the last of the ammunition with grim efficiency. "Make every shot count," she told them, "because we don't get another one." As dawn bled across the ruined skyline, the survivors moved. The streets were eerily silent. The only sound the distant, wet pulse of the alien harvesters at work. They moved in shadows, avoiding the searchlights of the drones that still patrolled the skeletal remains of the city. Priya led the way, the alien device strapped to her back, its glow muted under layers of torn fabric. Then Contact. A scout patrol rounded the corner, 3 of the mantis-like aliens gliding over the rubble. Naomi didn't hesitate. She fired, the bullet striking the lead alien in the throat. Black blood sprayed. The creature staggered, its limbs seizing as its own biology turned against it. The other 2 whirled, their weapons humming to life. But Rook was already moving. His first arrow took the nearest alien in the eye, the fluid eating through its carapace like acid. The second arrow missed, shattering against the pavement. The last alien raised its weapon, and Lena darted forward, her small frame a blur, driving her knife into the creature's leg. It shrieked, recoiling, and Priya slammed the alien device into its chest. The effect was instantaneous. The glyphs on the device flared crimson, tendrils of light lashing out to wrap around the alien's body. Its screams turned guttural, wet as its form twisted, limbs snapping and reforming at impossible angles. The survivors watched in horror as the creature convulsed, then exploded, showering the street in black viscera. The device clattered to the ground, inert. Naomi scooped it up, her grin feral. "Now we know what it does." They pressed forward, the path to the alien harvest site clear. The ship loomed ahead, its underbelly still dripping with the remains of the consumed. Elias's stomach churned, but he forced himself to move. This was it, their only chance. Priya strapped the device to her chest, the glyphs flickering in response to her touch. "When I give the signal," she said, "run like hell." Then she sprinted toward the ship, the survivors at her back, the device in her hand, screaming to life. The aliens turned as one, their weapons rising, and the world burned. Key elements asterisk. Climax asterisk. The survivors' desperate plan culminates in a brutal, visceral confrontation. Character resolutions asterisk. Naomi embraces her role as a leader, even at the cost of her own life. Priya sacrifices herself to ensure the device's activation. Elias is forced to confront his own hesitation and act. Twist asterisk. The alien device's true purpose is revealed, not as a weapon, but as a catalyst for destruction. Ending hook asterisk. The fate of the survivors and the planet is left uncertain, setting up the final confrontation in the next section. Let me know if you like any refinements.